Zenith Cablevision. Thank you for watching. It's time for talk. Each evening at this time, Monday through Friday, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. Time for Talk is a community betterment service. Tonight, Rosemary takes us by means of portable camera out of our studios and maybe into your neighborhood. And now, it's time for Talk.
Jerry Paul Combs here. We had a program, I think, back in April when it was warm, and here it is September, and we've got on jackets and coats.
It's supposed to be warm today.
Now, Jerry Paul, what's your title with the Missouri Conservation Department?
At this point, I am a ex-commissioner. My term expired in July of this summer, and I have been replaced on the commission by a fellow from St. Joe, Missouri. And the other commissioner, whose term expired the same time mine did, Andy Dalton from Springfield, was replaced by an attorney from Springfield.
So there's nobody down in southeast Missouri that knows what's going on back here?
Oh, there's a whole lot of people down here that know what's going on, but I am no longer a commissioner with the department.
All right, but are you still actively working with this?
Well, I wouldn't say that I was actively working with the project, but I am actively concerned about the project and very excited to watch the development. At this point, we're standing here on September the 22nd. The levee for the lake is 90% completed. There's been 640,000 cubic yards of dirt already moved this summer. This project, barring any bad weather this fall, will be completed by December, and then they will be able to put water in the lake next spring. There'll be 2 or 3 years before they'll actually stock it. But this project has moved along great. The contractor had 150 working days to complete it, and they've only had about 85 or 90 working days. So everything out here is ahead of schedule and working great.
All right, now we're going to look at this whole complex, and Jerry Paul's going to tell us what's going on here. But while we stand here and while this fellow's digging, what is this to be that we're looking at, this ditch?
Well, I think all they're doing here is redredging a ditch to drain one of the wetland cells into the main drainage ditch, which is on the other side of this road that we're standing on.
All right, now, a wetland cell. Now, is this a wetland cell you pointed out just before we stopped the car?
Yeah, we're looking across the road, and we're taking a picture of a wetland cell now. And to develop the levee around this 150-acre lake, there was 6 of these wetland cells developed. And they are approximately 40 acres in size.
And that's where the dirt has come from.
That's where all the dirt has come from to build the levee. There was no dirt taken out of the inside of the lake to build the levee.
Why?
All of the dirt was taken off of these cells within a quarter to a half a mile from the lake to build the levee, because within the lake itself there's a clay base about 8 feet deep, according to the drill samples that they took, and the department didn't want to disturb any of that clay base by taking some of that dirt to build the levee, because they didn't want the lake to leak. They want to be sure that that lake will hold water, and so they left all the clay base within the lake to do that.
All right, now here, Jerry Paul, walk over here with me. What are these concrete, what am I looking at here? Explain to me. What do you call this?
Each one of these 6 wetland cells that I was telling you that were being developed, there's a water control structure being built for each one. And that's only for the purpose of being able to control the water level within that 40-acre cell.
All right, so what's the water level going to be of that 40 acres right out there in that wetland cell?
It will vary depending on the time of the year and what the wildlife people that are going to be managing this area are trying to accomplish at the time.
All right,
for example, in July and August, they may only want to keep 6 inches to a foot of water in that area for marsh-type birds, shore birds that are here in the summertime. And then in the fall and in winter, they will probably flood the whole area and have the water from 2 to 4 feet deep for migratory waterfowl that will be coming through here. I don't believe there will be any fishing out here for 3 years.
Okay.
But the lake will be able to be used before that time, and the whole area is open to the public as soon as the construction's over.
Okay. All right. Now, what are we going to see? We're going to be able to get in the car and go around and see other areas they're working on?
We'll leave here and we'll get in the car and we'll go around and I'll show you where the main parking lot's going to be and where the handicap fishing pier is built, how the levee was constructed, and then we'll just see a couple more of the wetland areas. We'll watch some of the equipment work and then we'll come back.
Okay. I'll get up.
Well, we are at the Little River Lake Conservation Area, and immediately on my left is going to be the main parking area, the picnic pavilion, all of the main area of the fishing lake is going to be right here in this area on our left. The sanitary privies are being built here. We're going to get out and go walk up on this levee.
Now, this dirt has come from the wetlands?
That's correct.
And is this typical of gumbo, Jerry Paul? These little balls that...
Yeah, that's southeast Missouri gumbo.
I see. Okay. Now tell me what we're seeing.
All right,
here.
Russ needs to take a picture of this pavilion over here. What this is now, we're standing on the lake. That concrete pier is built out in the lake, and that is a handicap fishing pier. It'll have a rail around it.
Now, Jerry Paul, the water is going to come up within how far? You mean close to the top of this?
The water will be within 2 feet of the top of this concrete pier.
Oh.
Right here will be one of the deepest part of the lake, and the water right at this pier that we're standing on will be about 10 feet deep.
Okay. And how far is it now? What's down to the base of this lake? Now, this is the bottom of the lake.
That's correct. What you're looking at is the bottom of the lake.
And grass and all, and tree stumps and all. Now, are you going to provide for any fishing nests or?
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if these pictures will show it, but you'll see the fishing jetty that's sticking out in on the levee on that side, and then all these little mounds that you see out in the lake. You can see looks like high dogs.
Yeah.
We may get to a place where we can get a better picture of those, but there's 100 of those constructed inside the lake.
Those were built.
Those were built, and they're strictly for fish habitat. That's the only reason they were there. That's the only purpose they'll serve, is just obstacles for fish to nest around and swim around.
And these tree stumps make good fish beds.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And so fishing over here, listen, that looks pretty deep.
Here is the ramp. You can see the dirt that's slapping down into the water with the flags on it. That's going to be the unloading ramp that's being built where when you bring your boat out here, Rosemary, and want to put it in the water, that'll be the unloading ramp. There's one on this side of the lake, and then there'll be one built on the other side of the lake. 2 ramps. You notice on the far side, the black and the white on the levee, they're just, all the black is black plastic that's being laid down before they put the rock on top of it. This whole lake will have rock riprap all the way around it, and that's done to keep the wind erosion and the water erosion from washing away the levee bank.
I want you to show me. I saw some construction going on over here. Tell me what these things are we're going to be looking down on.
Okay, the concrete things that you're seeing built here now, the square one on the left is just strictly going to be a picnic pavilion, covered, be for public use, and then over here are the men and women facilities that are being built so that you won't have to drive back to town. What we're looking at now is the well casing that's sticking up above the ground for the 42-inch well that was drilled here to furnish water for the lake. This lake will not have any water come from the floodway ditches, which most everybody presumes is where it's coming from. All the water will come from this one well, and I believe that this is the largest water well that's ever been drilled in southeast Missouri. It's a lot larger than the well that furnishes water for Kennett. Well, there's a small area here that's got little levees that's got it petitioned off, and there's an outlet where the water can come in here and go out. And this area will strictly be used by the fisheries biologist to test the fish, to do some research on the fish, and also when they stock the lake, they tell me that originally that 90% of the fish will be released in this small area, and then they'll find their own way out into the big part of the lake. Here we're coming up on the plastic that I was telling you that they were just putting down underneath the riprap. Hauling all this rock is all coming out of a quarry up at Wapapella Lake. There's hundreds of truckloads of rock that are having to be hauled in here to put around this levee. We're now driving down the extreme south levee of the lake. This road that we're driving down will be open to the public. It'll be chatted where the public will be able to drive around the lake, stop and fish at any point they want to.
Now, Jerry Paul, when this water gets in here, it's not just gonna be stagnant inside this levee. How are they going to manage that?
Well, the water, they're going to have a recirculating system in the water to keep it keep it aerated. But a lake of this size, you really don't have to worry about it getting stagnant. It'll have enough area, but they will have an aeration system in it because it gets extremely hot and still here in August.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going south. We are on the extreme west levee of the lake. Right in front of us is Highway 412, and we're on the longest straight stretch of levee now of the lake. You know, the lake is shaped in an L shape rather than being a true rectangle. Okay, Rosemary, what we're getting a picture of now is simply a fish jetty that's built, extends from the main levee out into the lake, and the only purpose that serves is just to provide additional fishing area for the public.
Are there many of these, or is this the only one?
No, there's about a dozen of these scattered around the lake. Some of them are not completed. This one is just real visible because they've already got the rock on it. But it serves no functional purpose other than to get the fishing public off of the main levee in the bank out into a little deeper water.
Looks like a lot of activity right out here, Jerry Paul. What is this?
Okay, what they're doing here is building the spillway, and rather than water running over the top of this levee, which you think of at a lot of spillways, they're building a big concrete structure that'll catch water, and it'll go into a drainage pipe that's being built underground that will drain into the main drainage district ditch that runs along parallel to 412, and then eventually drains into the floodway ditch, the first floodway ditch over here on our right.
Okay, all right. Now, what about this? What about all this land to the right here of this levee? What's to happen to this?
Well, the land between the lake, the levee we're setting on, and the first floodway ditch, all of this land on the west side of the levee will be reforested. I'm really, I don't know what type of trees will be put in here, but for 15 years it's going to look bad until the trees get some size on them. In fact, for the first 5 years, the general public's probably going to think, what in the world are they doing letting that grow up and look so bad? Because in this part of the country, we get a lot of vegetation of kookaburras and weeds and junk that grow just as quick as the trees do for the first 5 or 6 years.
Well, we've been on a tour today. Jerry Paul Combs has been our tour guide, and listen, this is something to behold.
Well, I'm glad you came. We'll try to do this again in December when we hope the project's completed. You were here in April when it started. You're here in September when it's probably 75% completed. Hopefully in December when you come back, At that time, you can see the completed boat dock, the completed fishing piers, the completed water system, the elaborate water system that's being developed. Just invite you to come back in December and us do it again.
Okay, so stay tuned.